Welcome to the Brew Crew Review Podcast, the show by fans for fans of your Milwaukee Brewers.
All right, welcome Brewer fans to the Brew Crew Review Podcast. This is Scott, Vince, and Craig joining you. And we're going to recap the Brewers week where we went 5-2. Guys, how are you doing today?
Oh, hey, Craig. Hey, Scotty.
Hey.
Is Chad on?
I
Nope.
think Chad is teaching America's youth.
Oh, yeah. It is a school day, I suppose. I know he's very hyper-focused on making sure to retain very, very strict ethical standards in terms of his educational career.
Yep. So, 5-2 on the week's pretty good. We swept the Pirates, took 2 or 3 at home from the Cubs. Unfortunately, lost the one game series with the Giants that I had the unfortunate pleasure of attending. But had you told us that we're going to lose both games Burn started this week, I would still take the 5-2 then. So anyway, the Brewers are in first place, and we got a couple game lead on the Cardinals as of this podcast. So things are looking up. It is now May 2nd. Hopefully, with the warmer weather is on its way and it heats up the bats, because over the weekend against the Cubs, we had some big scoring days, but we also got shut out by Marcus Stroman on Sunday. So with the return of Luis Urias off the DL as of today, let's talk about that and a couple other roster moves, guys. So obviously, we're all aware that MLB had the rule to cut back down from, in April, teams had 28-man rosters, and they had to cut down to 26 starting today and for the rest of the season. To accommodate those moves, the Brewers had optioned to the minor leagues both Mike Brosseau and Alex Jackson, and they cut Jose Urena. And also,
hey, Craig, I think that Urena was just DFA'd. I don't know that it's decided yet exactly what's going to happen with him. Is it?
Okay, yeah, DFA'd then. And Jay Cousins went on a DL, and as I just mentioned, Luis Urias came off the DL. So overall, were you surprised by any of those moves?
I was a little surprised by Urena. He's a guy who's got a lot of he's got a track record and a lot of experience in the majors. So there were other pitchers that had options that could have been sent to the minor leagues. He was not one of those guys. So it didn't seem to be a Stearns type move where you lose a guy completely from the organization. We've seen guys in the past that are kind of yo-yoed up and down between AAA and the major leagues and kept in the system at least. And maybe Urena might be, maybe the Brewers front office is confident that no one's going to pick him up on waivers, or maybe they just don't care at this point that, if he is lost. But that one surprised me a little bit. I thought that maybe one of the guys that had an option might be sent down, but kudos to guys like Trevor Gott, who are pitching incredibly well, to make that decision very tough for the Brewers. So surprised, yes, but not totally shocked, I guess, given how well other guys are performing.
Yeah, I guess I always thought that Hobie Milner was going to be the potential odd man out, like if you would have asked me at the beginning of the season. But he's pitched pretty well, not exactly in a lot of high leverage situations, but he's still, getting the job done. So, we had to stick with him. And Urena, he was walking too many guys. He wasn't getting any strikeouts. I think he had like 3 Ks all year or something ridiculous. But it's overall though nothing too shocking or surprising. I guess I thought we could have pulled I think the Dodgers are notorious for it, but I guess a lot of teams do it. I thought it would have been something where maybe Urena would have come up with like a phantom injury, and then we would just throw him on the IL and bring him back when we need him. But to DFA him, little surprising, but not terribly surprising.
Yeah, and I think he was struggling the most of anybody from our bullpen, for the most part. Guys like Milner pitched pretty well. Yandel Gustav, he's got a 3.24 ERA. He had, some success in Milwaukee last year. So, it's surprising, but not totally shocking.
I was a little bit surprised by Mike Brosal getting sent down. I mean, we basically signed him and brought him aboard to be able to hit left-handed pitching. And he was definitely, I feel, doing his job. Obviously, with Urias coming back and taking everyday third base at bats, I assume that didn't really leave many at bats and for him. So maybe they just want to keep him down with regular at bats. So I wasn't totally shocked, but I kind of felt that was, kind of an unwarranted send down, I guess, so to speak. But because he really did do what he was brought on to do. But I guess it's just a numbers crunch. Obviously, Alex Jackson was just kind of filling in for Carantini while he was on the COVID DL or whatnot. But yeah, so I guess I'm a little bit. I kind of assumed that Keston Hiura might be one of the ones that got sent down when the roster crunch happened, and he didn't. So was that surprising to either of you guys?
A little bit, I guess. I guess I thought it was pretty much going to come down to like Brosal or Hiura, who really, I kind of just want Hiura to get regular at bats, and I don't think it's going to happen on the major league level. But I guess I thought that he was definitely an option. Other than that, I really like Jase Peterson. I think we sing his praises a lot on this podcast. He puts together quality at bats, but the production, frankly, isn't there right now. But it's not like he's going to be starting that much anymore anyway. So, you want somebody, to be like a pinch hitter to come off the bench and be prepared to give those quality at bats and try to get on base. And he's one of the few guys that I seem like aren't trying to, hit home runs when we're down by 3 with nobody on or whatever. So, it is what it is.
Well, don't forget, guys, too, with Jase, he's got several years now of a track record in Milwaukee. So it's not like, a few bad weeks are going to have us questioning whether or not he's capable. I think that he's proven himself during his time in Milwaukee. So, that builds up a little trust between a guy and the organization. So I don't think he's going to be the first guy out. A guy like Brousseau is, new to the Brewers, and I know that he was brought in to hit lefties, and he's been good at that in his career, but he doesn't have a long history in Milwaukee. He, played for the Brewers just this season. So it doesn't totally surprise me. Hiura, I really, really want to see him come around. He had such a great spring training. And obviously being a Brewer, draftee and a guy who got a lot of hype earlier in his career, I think that the Brewers are, going to really try to see what they have in Keston Hiura this season. So they're going to give him a bit of a leash. And, if he struggles, excessively, I'm sure that they'll be, sending him down again. But I think at this point, he's not really gotten the at-bats like you alluded to, Scott, to make him, the automatic guy to get sent down. So I think that they're going to give him a bit of a leash and hope that he comes around. That talent is still there, but he's batting .219 this year so far. But again, only 32 at bats, according to the notes that the interns handed us in the pre-production meeting here.
Yeah, that's the one thing. My concern with Keston staying up is the fact that I don't know that he's going to get more than like 2 or 3 starts per week, if that. I mean, I assume Urias is everyday starter, and McCutchen pretty much has most of the DH at bats. So outside of him just hitting against left-handers, with then benching Rowdy for that, so basically in a straight up platoon with Rowdy is the only way I saw him staying on the roster. So that must be the plan, I would assume. Because I think in order for him to really get in the hitting groove, he can't be on the bench more, 3 or 4 times a week. But that looks like it may be what it is. But you always just want the best guys, even if they are to come off the bench, whatever, on a major league roster, especially for first place teams. So I don't doubt that they evaluated that Keston is one of those best guys. So hopefully he can still, get hot from that limited playing time. But nothing too shocking,
Yeah,
I guess.
He does provide a power option off the bench. We should say that too. I mean, Keston Hiura's skill set is such that, you kind of know what you're going to get with certain guys that come off the bench. I think that Keston is one of those guys that, yes, he does have a tendency to strike out, but he also has some pop. So, to have power coming off the bench later in a game can be a really, great tool for a team to have, obviously. So I don't totally discount that as being one of the reasons as well. He's where he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, Jake Cousins has not been pitching anywhere near as well as he had for us last year. And so now he's going to the DL. So hopefully he can get himself righted once he gets healthy. But I think that we were counting on him to be a pretty big part of this bullpen, and so far that has not been the case. And luckily, like you mentioned, other guys like Trevor Gott have stepped up into his role, kind of in the 6th, 7th innings or whatever. So, and of course, Brad Boxberger resigning, he's there for that area of the ball game too. So I guess I'm not too concerned that for Cousins, I think he'll be able to come back and be a contributor when he comes back from the injured list. So I guess the other thing I want to kind of talk about on this podcast is I guess one of the bigger breakouts of the month of April so far, and that is, do you guys think that we actually have developed a 4th ace for this team in the name of Eric Lauer?
Wow, what a April for this guy. It's just been incredible to watch, hasn't it? I mean, really exciting stuff, and I don't know, but something is going on with that Brewers pitching lab to help a guy like Eric Lauer to take that next step as well. I don't want to be so sensationalistic when we do this podcast. I understand we kind of sound like the guys from the Bears skit on SNL when we're like this, but to see what the Brewers starting rotation looks like in 2022 compared to what it used to be for Brewer fans of just about any age, to see what existed in the past and what passed for an ace pitcher, and then to have a guy like Eric Lauer be your 4th starter, it's just crazy. And even a guy like Hauser or Ashby, I mean, it's just unbelievable. So yeah, Eric Lauer has completely blown us away. Well, Scott, I know your interns can help us with the stats, but he had 2 double-digit strikeout games in a row, and I think that's the first time a left-handed pitcher had done that for the Brewers since Teddy Higuera in 1988, if I recall.
Yeah, I think that was exactly right. I think it was 88. I'm almost positive on that. No, I have no idea. But yeah, that sounds right. You could tell me, I wouldn't know. But yeah, Lauer has done a great job, and yeah, honorable mention to Hauser as well. Biggest thing, I forget where it was. There was some good write-up about Eric Lauer saying how last year, obviously he pitched all right, but I think it was his fastball was right around 91, and since then he's getting a lot more swings and misses, trusting it more. He's throwing about 94 now, which is nothing to sneeze at. So obviously getting improvement there, can definitely throw it by guys more, and he's elevating it and locating it better. So yeah, he's really done a good job.
Yeah, and of course,
I saw that comment about the velocity uptick. I think that was a comment from Omar Narvaez who said that, Scott. He mentioned that Lauer has gone up, I think, 2 or 3 miles per hour with his fastball, which is pretty exciting, especially to do it at this point in his career. He's 27 years old this season, so he's not exactly like a rookie pitcher at this point, obviously. And looking at the numbers right now, he's sitting after the month of April, 1 month in, 4 games in, 1.93 ERA for Lauer on the year compared to 3.19 last year, which, again, was a pretty darn good season in 2021 from your 4th starter. But yeah, to step up, he's 2-0 with a 1.93 ERA on the year this year, and 34 Ks to 5 walks at the moment.
That's pretty phenomenal. And that's why I mentioned him like in our new ace territory with the other big 3. I mean, if we could really go through this season with 4 potential aces, I mean, the excitement level is just through the roof. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And you guys mentioned his increase in velocity, and then obviously his strikeout rate increase, and then the way that he's able to limit walks as well. I mean, he's definitely looks like he's developing. And there's an old baseball adage that lefties develop a little bit slower when it comes to pitchers, and I think that he might have just fallen in that category. Obviously, looking back a couple of years with the Trent Grisham trade, I mean, Trent Grisham had a great rookie year with us that kind of ended poorly, but I mean, the fact that he went from a first-round prospect to kind of really struggling in the minor leagues for several years, and then finally turning himself into something at major league level, and then the Brewers were able to flip him along with Zach Davies for 2, in my opinion, now cornerstones of our future here in Luis Urias and Eric Lauer, I mean, I don't think there's anyone in baseball that's going to argue that we're going to come out ahead, hands down, with winning that trade. So pretty phenomenal and exciting to see. That's for sure.
I also, since we're talking about the pitching, and I just want to point out that Adrian Hauser has a 2.53 ERA this season as well. So didn't mean to take away from the bit on Lauer. I just wanted to follow up on that point. Just talking about our rotation generally, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I guess
absolutely.
when I say 4 aces, I know that Adrian probably listens to our podcast, and he's probably like, "Hey guys, I'm right over here."
I do think he gets forgotten about a bit. I think that he's worth mentioning because, again, this is a guy who would have been an ace pitcher for the team anytime for a 10-year period, at least between like 93 and 2003 until Ben Sheets really stepped up. And even then he would have been at least at number 2 and an ace probably when Sheets was hurt. So I do think it's at least worth bringing up as a point.
Well, I would
absolutely.
say, even though Scott's our in-house comedian, I would call Vince our in-house baseball historian. And so one thing, a question I guess I'll propose to you or both of you is, if you could trade our current 6-man rotation, our 6 man with any 6 starting pitchers from any Brewer decade, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, even the 2010s. So that's 5 different decades you can choose from. You can take any 6 starters from any year of any of those decades and create like an all-decade Brewers rotation. Would you trade the current 6-man rotation for any of those decades' best 6 starting pitchers as Milwaukee Brewers?
Nope.
No, I wouldn't either, Greg. I think that you can find one-off pitchers from each decade that may be better, than our 3rd starter today or something. But no, I mean, as a group, there's no way. No, absolutely not. And I honest to God, I'd probably take after 92 when the fire sale happened and we lost Molitor and Plesac and Bosio and a bunch of guys. I don't think that I would take any. I think I would take anybody from this current group and put them over anyone in that Brewers rotation from basically 93 until Ben Sheets.
Yeah, I think the only decade that might even the 2 decades, I guess, that would maybe come close to competing for just this year's rotation might have been the 2000 to 2010 and the 1980s, just because, well, let's start with the 80s. Obviously, you have guys like Vukovic was Cy Young Award winner. You got Caldwell. You guys got like Moose Haas, and I guess you could add Teddy Higuera in there because he came in the late 80s. So that's pretty close, but still short.
Too, yeah.
And then the 2000s, obviously, even though he was only a half a season rental, I mean, you've got CC Sabathia, you could have had that decade rotation, and then you've got Ben Sheets and Giovanni Gallardo. But other than that, I don't think we have enough to go 6 deep even with that entire decade. So I agree with you guys that this, and that is, if that doesn't excite you as a Brewer fan, I don't know. So I mean,
well, yeah, it's huge, and it underscores the need, I think, in my mind, that we've talked about. I think every podcast, our offense has, certainly picked it up in the past week, and that's great. But I still think we need to use this window and just be as bold as possible, and go out and get another bat. I really think that we need it. I think that our offensive woes have kind of ebbed and flowed a bit, but 2020 to 2022 so far has been only okay offensively, good enough to win some games, but not good enough to be an elite offense. And I think that we really need to be elite at this point on the offensive side to go with our very elite pitching staff and elite bullpen as well, as long as we've got Josh Hader here.
And I feel confident in our front office to do just that. I mean, it's always been said that acquiring bats at trade deadlines is probably cheaper and easier than acquiring really good starting pitching or even bullpen arms for that matter. So I feel confident the Brewers will be able to add this offense as the season goes on, and definitely by the trade deadline. So that is an exciting thing. And I don't think that there's too many people in the minor leagues that are completely unavailable, so to speak. I think that any of our minor leaguers that can be used via trade to improve this Major League ball club, that they will be and they should be. So that's also exciting to know as well.
Well, I think that's one of the things I'm a little bit worried about, is that when we hopefully, eventually, maybe start calling around and, maybe we've already done that, but calling around and trying to look for a bat, which hopefully happens. But a lot of those teams are going to be asking for, your Hausers, your Lauers, your Ashbys, and they're like, what do you mean? You're like, we're going to give you an elite bat, and you're going to, you don't want to give us your 4th, 5th, or 6th, starters? And our 4, 5, and 6 would be your 1, 2, and 3. So that's why we're not doing it. Like, they're going to be asking for a lot of these things that we don't necessarily want to give up. And I mean, honestly, I don't know. I mean, do you really want to, there's a lot of guys like, I mean, does Keston Harris still have any value? I mean, I don't know. Not enough to bring in a premium bat, that's for sure. Not by himself. So I don't know. It's going to be a little tricky. They're going to be asking for a lot of stuff that we don't want to give up.
Yeah, but I think that we have some bats at the upper levels that, like we got Garrett Mitchell, we got Joey Weimer, and we've got Bryce Terang and a few other guys. Obviously, there's even just like filler throw in change of scenery guys like Corey Ray probably. But I think that we'll have enough ammo in the minor leagues to be able to bring in a bat with just minor leaguers and, possibly maybe throwing in like a Tyrone Taylor type player or something like that into it, if depending on, but so I'm confident it will happen at some point. But in the meantime, the Brewers are, here we are sitting beginning of May, and the Brewers are sitting in first place. So things are looking good. And like I said, we're seeing a little signs of life from our offense. And to their defense, if you look across baseball, offense is really down in April, and there's a lot of contributing factors to that. Obviously, people are complaining that the balls are different, but not only that, but a shorter spring training and a lot of cold weather across the country. So a lot of things are depressing the bats so far, and so hopefully the Brewers will come around as well.
Well, didn't our anonymous source, Tom Carter, go down and do an investigation of the balls or something? He was looking at that.
I know Chad's friend Neil was doing some ball work as well.
That guy.
So
yeah,
I'm not sure. Yeah. But he was saying that things are changing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, our resident ball investigator is Chad. I know I labeled you guys with resident whatever, but unfortunately he hasn't been shining yet. He's also our resident gambler, so if you guys want any tips, you can send in some options, and we'll get those messaged over to Chad, and he'll give you his betting tips. So, okay, so this week we got 3 games against the Reds at home, who are a pretty tough team, and then we got the Braves. Don't know much about them. 3 games in Atlanta. Vince, are you going to any of those games?
No, unfortunately not. I did not know. Recently, I am locked into a Mother's Day plan here for Lena's mother in Houston. We are going to the Astros-Tigers game for Mother's Day on Saturday. So no.
Oh, that's not bad. Okay.
No, not bad at all. So,
what is your predictions for the week, Scott? 6 games, Reds, Braves, 3 apiece.
Yeah.
4-2.
Nice.
All right.
That's great. I got 3-3. 2 out of 3 from Cincy and 1 out of 3 from Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go 3-3 too. But welcome back, Louis Urias. Hopefully our offense picks it up a little bit going forward. So
sounds good, guys.
All right, well, let's forge into May. Hopefully the warm weather and the great baseball continues. But in the meantime, keep following us, keep listening to the podcast, and keep tuning in. I appreciate it, guys. And stay classy, Wisconsin, and go Brewers.
Go Brewers, guys.
Go Brewers.